Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and I think it's about time I combined Brexit with food again, farming specifically, as it often is at the moment, and discuss one interesting dilemma that a Welsh lamb farmer was expressing regarding the uncertainty over Brexit. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, this was prompted by an article I was reading last week in Farmers Weekly, as you do, and it explained the delicate situation for Welsh lamb farming regarding Brexit. Now, because for all of the government's rubbish about, we're not going to extend the transition period because then that gives certainty to businesses, it actually creates massive uncertainty, because extending the transition period would have been certainty. Everyone would have known how to cope with that. Now, nobody knows how to cope. Quite a lot of Welsh lamb is exported, and it isn't really, quite a lot of it anyway, not the majority of it, isn't really the sort that generally sells in the UK market. And this is something that has come up time and time again, as I have read about how different industries have been concerned by Brexit. Because one thing that people would be blissfully unaware of, and I would have been at one point, is, people look at the import and export of certain foods, including meat, might be chicken, it's lamb in this case, and they think, well, it's all the same. So if we export this much lamb to the EU, but we import this much, we can just keep more of it in this country and vice versa. But different countries have different tastes. So an example was given of a large market near Paris, which buys this sort of lamb, because quite a lot of this lamb is too small for the British market, but it works for the French market. And this particular market imports 12,000 lamb carcasses a week. However, next year, if we haven't organised a free trade deal with the EU, they won't be buying any at all off Welsh farmers. 36% of Welsh lamb ends up in the EU. Now that is a very, very large amount to suddenly have to try and sell elsewhere. And the same problems that are making it impossible to sell in the EU will also make it impossible to sell in most other markets as well, because making it sell elsewhere is not going to be economically viable, because thanks to those World Trade Organization rules that government ministers are so pleased about, there will be a 46% import tariff on our lamb. Too much. That's far too much. And one Welsh lamb farmer was explaining his particular predicament as follows. So he said that if he knew that we were going to arrange a free trade deal with the EU by the end of the year, he would carry on as normal, knowing that there'd be a market for the amount of lamb he is expecting to produce. However, if he also knew, instead I would say, knew that we will end the year without that free trade deal with the EU, then he'd be better off fattening more cattle, because, as he noted, we are a net importer of beef in this country and the price will be more stable on beef. Now, what was missing from the article is just how severe the consequences are for this particular farmer, how much financial damage he would suffer if he gets it wrong either way. I mean, I would obviously advise working on the assumption that there will not be a free trade deal with the EU because, well, I think it's politically impossible right now. And in fact, the government have very recently pretty much said, yeah, it's no deal. But he has to make the decision before the government actually gives him any certainty. Because although the government are saying, oh yeah, it's going to be no deal, do they mean that? Or is that yet again one of their bogus negotiating positions that they expect to be turned around? Again, we don't really know. This farmer certainly doesn't know. And this particular farmer, a chap by the name of Wyn Evans, good solid Welsh name there, seems also to be a student of history, because he was noting that as mad as it would be to leave the EU without a deal, combining that with allowing in lower quality, cheaper imports from overseas would also be unwise, because he recalled the situation after the reform of the Corn Laws in the 19th century, when British farming was undercut so badly that we ended up in a situation where we were importing 2/3 of our food. Then along came the Second World War, and this lack of food security showed us up very badly indeed. And the plight of this farmer is also echoed in other businesses as well, really, because Mr. Evans faces a dilemma. If the trading conditions go one way, then the best business decision is plan A, let's call it. If the trading conditions are another, then plan B is best. And he understands that. He knows his own business. But without certainty, and having to make that decision before there is certainty, means the decision will be a gamble. Now, there are plenty of business owners in this country that actually don't know what they're doing. They make money for a while, and they might even make a lot of money because they have a marketable skill and they recognise that. Then one day the market conditions change and their lack of business acumen is exposed. They're not able to adapt and they go under. Happens all the time. But Boris Johnson's Brexit policy is making a gambler of even those business owners who do understand their business, as well as their place in the market and in the supply chain. The only ones who can get through this with confidence are those who can hedge their bets, make a decision that will see them survive regardless of the outcome, even if one outcome is more profitable than another. But because some will suffer very, very badly, perhaps even fatally, if they make the wrong decision, there are going to be a lot of people who find themselves betting on red when it turns up black and losing it all. And the way Mr. Evans was talking, it sounded to me like he wasn't sure what was the more profitable system. The article implied that he farms beef as well as lamb anyway, so it's really a case in his particular situation of shifting the balance one way or the other, not so much having all of his eggs in one basket. And then I thought, so what about farmers who only rear sheep? What if their entire livelihood is in lamb farming and they don't have the expertise for other forms, much less the capacity to switch right now? So no wonder the Farmers Union wants some government help for the industry. Help they're not going to get, of course, especially if that help is in the form of, well, there's going to be these massive import tariffs due. You need to compensate us for that. Because, well, I mean, they're not going to do that. I wouldn't have even thought it was possible for the government to bail out every business that they are screwing over with Brexit, because after all, where are they going to get the money from at the start of this deeply damaging COVID disaster, as well as Brexit, and with maybe 10% of British businesses folding very, very quickly next year. But I would like to think that Wyn Evans will at least make the decision to go to shifting to balance more towards beef, because I don't see us trading freely with anyone that he can sell his lamb to next year, because the situation is as follows. The government have said that they won't accept EU rules. That means we're not going to get free trade on the single market. That's all there is to it. Now, Boris Johnson could think that that's a negotiating position and that the EU will back down in October. When they don't, and it gets to November, he may panic and he may do something that basically forms another transition period, in which case we will have free trade with the EU into next year as well. But I don't think that's the case, because everything that he's gearing up for, everything that he's genuinely gearing up for, would be impossible under such a situation. So there it is. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.